Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to today's Smackdown review and opinions video. So I really want to get stuck into a bigger question than what was this Smackdown like, and that is all about WrestleMania season, because it keeps coming up, people asking, does this feel like WrestleMania season? And interestingly, as soon as John Cena turned heel at Elimination Chamber, it was the first thing that Triple H came out with. Does it feel like WrestleMania season now? Because I think he had seen a lot of people saying it doesn't feel like WrestleMania season. And of course, when John turned, I mean, that was massive, and that certainly did feel like WrestleMania season. But I think what we've seen this week is a little bit of an off week. The week started with John Cena's promo, which was great, compelling. Still, I've got a few little grumbles with it, but nothing massive. I just would have liked The Rock to have been mentioned, and I think it would have been good to have explained why now. Why after all this time, John? Was it now that you've had enough of the fans? When you're literally saying goodbye to everyone and you're on your farewell tour? Like, why now? And that wasn't really answered. So, like, there was a couple of things in there that I was like, I still needed. And there's every chance we get that Monday. But by and large, a very compelling promo, very good way to start Raw. But the problem was, there wasn't a great deal that could follow that on Monday that kind of kept the energy going, right? It was a big segment, and then what followed was quite a drop-off, right? We spoke about that on Monday, and that was the feedback that I was getting from you guys as well. And now this show, I think, was all about Roman, CM Punk, and Seth. Only on today's show, that segment came at the very end, and it was very short. Gotta say, they didn't leave loads of time for it. I know that we had to do 3 entrances, but it sort of feels like that should have been built into the show, that we were going to need to do 3 entrances. And I don't know about you, but I was looking for a real compelling segment here where everyone's taking shots at each other, gets a little bit personal, like really like compelling stuff. There was a few lines, and then it was straight into a brawl that I would say was acceptable, but not exceptional. They all point at different points at the WrestleMania sign, and that's it, really. I mean, that was it. On the rest of the show, there was a few talking points, a few little bits and bobs, you know, things like Tiffany and Charlotte I thought was pretty fun. Kevin Owens coming out and apologizing to Randy was kind of interesting. The Los Garza Street Profits match might have been the best match of the night. Actually, the in-ring was quite poor because I did 2 SmackDown streams, and not a single match on either of those streams got a great rating. Every match on both streams was just rated as good. So, WrestleMania season, is this good enough? Is this kind of where we would want it to be? I have to say, I do think WrestleMania season every year gets a bit blown out of proportion. The truth is that most WrestleMania seasons are like this. It's just that there's some big moments kind of dotted throughout that kind of really elevate it, right? And last year was an exception because, of course, we had The Rock around. He was building towards a match. That meant that we saw a lot more of him. We were getting things like the Rock concert. I mean, we also had that amazing moment where we did a whole kind of kickoff show. I think it was at the T-Mobile Arena in like February of last year, where we had that bloodline image and it showed all the family tree. I mean, we have not had that this year. We've not had the big We Want Cody campaign this year. We've not been getting like the Rock promos on social media this year. And I do agree with, I can't remember if it was Vic or Lisa, but the comment was made in the watch-along. It's very unfair to compare this year to last year, because last year was WrestleMania 40. It was an anniversary show, like every 10 years. We do a big show like WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 40, and they are special. WrestleMania 30 was special because of Daniel Bryan. And of course, the end of the streak. WrestleMania 20 was special. We went back to Madison Square Garden, and we really used that show to kind of highlight the next generation of stars, which at that time was Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. And so we used it to kind of highlight, not aged very well, of course, but that's where we were at the time. And we were back at Madison Square Garden, and we were celebrating 20 years of WrestleMania. And if you go back to WrestleMania 10, that is where we're trying to decide who's the next guy. Is it Lex Luger? Is it Bret Hart? We crown Bret Hart. And actually, that show ends with Bret on the shoulders of superstars after he had just beaten Yokozuna. And of course, we had the ladder match there. We had Bret versus Owen there as well. And so, WrestleMania 10 is very special. 20 is special. Obviously, WrestleMania 1 is very special. 30 is special. 40 is special. Finishing the story. It is a bit unfair to compare this year to last year. But I think the truth is that, is this WrestleMania season? Well, yes, it is. And I think that it is kind of, there's more star power around than you would normally see throughout the year. We had John Cena on Monday. We've got Roman and Punk and Seth all in the ring at the same time on SmackDown. We got Charlotte back, who's about to engage in a match taking on Tiffany. You've got Io and Rhea and Bianca kind of circling around each other. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in a segment together. There's a lot of big names. There's a lot of star power. So, yeah, this is WrestleMania season. But I can understand why people find it underwhelming. I can understand that it has not lived up to expectation. And I think this show very much falls into that category. The tag match at the start, Damian and Jimmy Uso against Shinsuke and Drew. I don't think anyone was looking for that, right? That got good 96, good 95. Those were the two scores on the streams. Jacob Fatu against Braun Strowman should have been a banger, right? We saw it at Saturday night's main event. This is the kind of match you go, oh, that's going to be good. That'll deliver. Good 94, good 95. Those were the two scores on the two separate streams, only 1% in it. Then we had Zelina against Piper. I actually quite enjoyed that match. I thought that Zelina gave a good account of herself. That was good 94 and good 88. So a little bit of a difference in percentages, but still around the same kind of ballpark. Jade Cargill against Liv Morgan, good 95, good 93. And then our main event match-wise, Los Garza against Street Profits, good 100, good 96. So, we were quite close to getting towards great in that match, but it never quite got there. So, yeah, I feel like there was little bits dotted throughout this show. I don't feel like there was anything seismic. To be perfectly honest with you, apart from the odd moment at the end of the show, I'm not sure there's anything here that anyone needed to see. I think that moment where CM Punk turns around and says, "Thank you, Paul, for delivering your tribal chief to me on a silver platter." And Roman, turns to Paul, what's he on about? That moment there where Heyman's like, "I don't know." And as Roman's distracted, boom, he gets cracked in the back of the head by CM Punk. That bit is probably a bit that could come back in the future and be of interest. I didn't feel like there was much development with the Rey Fenix vignette or the Aleister Black vignette. I think the fact we know who these vignettes are for is probably taking the edge off those. Tiffany Charlotte was good. Kevin and Randy was fine at the start, but again, not massively essential. Scoring this, I'm probably about a 6.25. Yeah, not loads here, to be honest. So, is it just a one-off bad show? Well, maybe, but I think you can make the argument that Raw was a little bit flat after the Cena thing. And it's always going to be hard to follow that, of course. But, I don't know, where are the big, juicy, exciting stories? as we head towards WrestleMania. There does seem to be a lot of repetition with match person attacks after, you know? I mean, Drew attacked Damian after, Naomi attacked Jade during. You know, there's a lot of, like, just attacks that are happening around the ringside area. Like, where's people invading each other's homes, or, you know, where's, like, the big brawls backstage with cars getting trashed? Where's the Rock in the rain whipping down Cody? You know? Where are those segments at the moment? Now, I know we've still got time, but we are also running out of time, because I think WrestleMania is, the 18th or the 19th and 20th of April. So we're currently sat here and it is the 22nd now. So I think we're looking at 4 weeks. And if you think that final week is going to be go-home shows, that means we've probably got about 3 weeks to kind of put the finishing touches on things and actually tell any stories we need to tell. Because the go-home shows are going to be the go-home shows. Those are the finishing touches. So we've probably got about 3 weeks. So I don't think it's tons of time. It's still time. But, yeah, I'm prepared to read a few concerns here. I can see a 4 out of 10 there, for example. I can see the words boring show there, for example. So I just wanted to kind of lay those comments down as a bit of a, I get where you're coming from, right? I understand. I watched the show twice because we did the 2 watch-alongs, and I was not giddy about watching it a second time. But it was fine. I mean, I still had a good time on the streams. But from a show point of view, I can understand people saying this isn't quite what I'm looking for. But rather than guessing what people are saying, let's jump straight into it. And let's see what people are saying. So Hasib said it was a boring show. I feel WWE have an exciting top end of the card. But when it comes to the mid-card and lower, there's just nothing going on. We've all seen Raw, SmackDown, and realistically, you don't have to watch the whole show. If you take out Cody, Cena, Punk, Seth Rollins, then you are pretty much caught up. I don't massively disagree with that. Obviously, we do want better. We do want the shows to be stronger. We do want it to have more depth. I do think it's difficult, to be honest with you. I don't think this is an easy task. Because if you think a good TV show should have twists and turns, and you obviously need to deliver that. But equally, you need to be planting seeds for future twists and turns. So you're constantly sowing seeds. You're constantly reaping harvests. You're constantly putting on compelling matches, but you're having to do that not just for an hour a week. You're having to do that for 5.5 hours a week. You know, I think the truth is this is a big company with a lot of TV time. And if you think about your favorite shows like Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, they tend to put out an hour a week of content. WWE are putting out 5.5 hours every week. Every week. That is hard. I do think there needs to be some acknowledgement of how difficult that is. And then I do think there needs to be some acknowledgement of there's injuries, there's illnesses, there's people that have, missed their flights, overslept. Like, these things do happen. Some of them rarer than others. But, there's lots and lots of people have walked out like Naomi and Sasha did, There's lots and lots of things that can go awry. Like now they're on a European tour, so what kind of limitations does that provide? You can't really film too many off-site locations. You can't go around someone's house right now, for example, because we're not in America. So it is quite challenging, and that presents its own challenges. And I sort of feel like we need to get off the European tour. And I think that, I don't know that it's ever going to be like perfect, but it is a tough ask. It is a lot to ask, but can the shows be better than what we got on SmackDown? I think so. Brendan said Stanley Cup playoffs. Brendan, shout out to you. J Omega said this week felt mid, dry. Nothing was able to save the show, so go in a 4. WrestleChop said the 3 goats on the mic and they end up with a pull-apart brawl. Why not just let them speak? I agree. I really agree. I feel like they gave that last segment about half an hour, which you're like, okay, that's a good amount of time. But once you've actually done the entrances and ad breaks and Roman standing in the ring whilst the crowd are singing to him, you're really not left with that much time. Howdy said, I only like the Roman segment. That was 10 out of 10. SXXXXXRXXXX said, same old shares, no Wyatt 6. I'm not watching. Eric said it was garbage day. BWF said it was trash. I don't think the Wyatts are returning till after Mania. No, I think they'll be there before Mania, but I don't think they're going to be on this tour. So I think we need to get off the European tour first. But yeah, word on the street is that Bo was cleared recently and we're just waiting for the right creative. I mean, could it be after WrestleMania? Yeah. But Sean Ross Sapp did say that Alexa is seemingly locked in for a tag match at WrestleMania. I've got to think that her partner will be Nikki. If her partner's Nikki, then we're getting Wyatt 6 stuff, aren't we? So I wouldn't give up hope, but equally, I long ago stopped going into shows waiting to or expecting to see the Wyatt 6. To be honest, we don't even really talk about them until they get mentioned these days. And so as a result, it doesn't really affect my viewing pleasure. FYI said, Fowler, incredible at Bologna. It was the dub crowds. Love seeing WWE in the fatherland, but it's a 4 for me. Profits had the only good match, in my opinion. Dub, Seth, Punk, Roman segment. WWE should pay the Euro crowds for carrying SmackDown again through lazy booking and writing. I'm bored with SmackDown. Is it just me? Thanks, Daze. No, it's not you, but I think you're getting, I can see a 6 here. I can see the word mid there. So this is a therapy group, right? Las Vegas Matt said, I think that the build to WrestleMania last year was good. This year, I'm not excited for any matches. And building up wrestlers like Zelina and Jade for returns and debuts, just for them to lose, doesn't excite me either. Crowd was fantastic, though. Maybe I'm wrong, but 5 out of 10. Phoenix said, honestly, pretty mid. Chanel said, I thought the show was somewhat decent. I wasn't expecting Liv to win, but I was pleasantly surprised. And Liv is the first person in WWE to beat Jade, and I love that for her. Hate the fact Zelina lost, but I get it. Lastly, I felt incredibly underwhelmed by that last segment, so 6. Norma said, it was okay. Roman Reigns made the show much more tolerable. Rest of the show I could have done without, though. Dabuma said, very dry. They need to move on from the Drew Priest. That story sucks. The rest of the show was boring, so 4.5. Mary said, an honest opinion, the last segment of SmackDown was terrible, especially with those 3 top wrestlers. There is nothing with this match that gives me any hype for WrestleMania. I would enjoy that match more if it was a number 1 contenders match. If the winner of that got the title shot at Backlash, I would enjoy it more. But I don't know that we're going that way. I don't feel like we're going that way. So yeah, I know they don't like each other. I know they want to get at each other and rip each other apart and all of that, but I would like that stipulation to be added. Big Mike said, very middle of the road, some fun matches, interesting segments, but nothing truly exciting. John Elite said, I'm surprised that Jade lost clean to Liv tonight. I'm excited for Phoenix. Well, it wasn't clean. Naomi was involved, wasn't she? I believe she hit her with a belt before the end of the match. I'm excited for Phoenix and Alistair arriving soon. Couldn't tell what was next to the 4 in the tease. Is it a 3? Awesome main event segment. Solo and Jacob at Mania. Not a huge fan of the new themes for Zelina and Street Prop. Yeah, I wasn't either, to be honest. It looked a little bit like a 2 to me that was next to the 4, but I equally am not bothered. I really didn't dig into it that much because it's Aleister Black and I'll just see him when I see him. If it's this side of WrestleMania, great. If it's after WrestleMania, fine. Like, I really don't mind. I like Aleister Black a lot, so I'm quite happy to just, yeah, when you're ready, mate. I've already waited 3-4 months for the Wyatt 6. I'm sure you're not going to take that long, so I think it was a 2, but I'm not sure. Princess Kutab Itch said, I'll give it a 5. It was very dry. The crowd deserved better. Babs the Barbarian said, it was okay. The Tiff and Charlotte interview was horrible. I think it's cool that Phoenix is going to SmackDown. Jacob better dog walk Solo's ass. I hope they add a stipulation to the Seth Roman Punk match, like number 1 contender match. Love it. I would say 5.5. Jasmine said 5. SmackDown was... I can't wait for Aleister Black, Rey Fenix, Alexa Bliss, Wyatt 6. But the only thing is missing, where the hell's Nia Jax, Miz, Andrade, Mello? Forgot about him. Candice, Michin. Well, I think Candice is with Nia. If we don't get Nia, we don't really get Candice. Carmelo, I think, worked the dart match against Cody. So that's where Carmelo was. Andrade popped up last week. He had a word with Berto saying you deserve better. And Miz... Is he on a... He's on a... Where I don't know where Miz is, actually. I don't know where Miz was this week. That's it's a fair point, that. Right, Larry said, Daze, SmackDown was good. The crowd rocked. Matches were good. I'm going to go 6.5. Larry, shout out to you. BRS said it was too long. And Taker 1990 said SmackDown was an 8. Roman, Seth, Punk segment was the highlight of the night. Then we had the nipple threat. The nipple threat. Oh my God. Well done. The nipple threat. There was a threat that we would see a nipple, and we did as well. Was the second highlight. Keep up the great work. I got you when it comes to phones at Mania weekends. I also got tickets for WrestleCon in Vegas. Congrats, buds. Congrats. Right, Brady said SmackDown was not great other than the main event segment. It's very interesting that WWE is using 2 different kind of graphics for WrestleMania matches. I think Alexa Bliss is most likely enjoying being a mother before she goes into Chaos, which is Mania month. Yeah, true. There are these ones. I think there might even have been a slightly different graphic as well with Roman, Seth, and Punk, because it wasn't that style and it wasn't this card style either. So I think there was another graphic that was shown for those 3. Triple H tweeted that out as well. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why we've got all these different graphics doing the rounds. Ryan said, if it wasn't that good in my opinion. Liv versus Jade was decent. Everything else was mid. Italian crowd was amazing. France still number 1. Ending was solid. Punk Roman Seth was must main event night 1. So 6.5 for me, says Ryan. Great One said, this show and the main event segment can be summarized in 2 words. And as Jim Cornette would say, lazy booking. Muggsy said, really nothing great, and I don't think the crowd helped as much this time. The slip-ups were the best part of the show, if you know what I mean. Main event promo was nothing. The only words I remember anyone saying is acknowledge me. It's a Mania feud, and yet no real promo. 7 out of 10. Homer said, it's been a long time to the crowds. I wonder if it did feel like a long time to the crowd. I think they loved it. They were having so much fun. I don't think they cared, to be honest. Wrestling fan since day one said Zelina versus Piper was match of the night for me. My favorite SmackDown gets 5.75. Maybe 5.35. Good night, Daze. See you next week. See you next week, buds. And these are our final ones. Averted Vision said dire, like Raw was. WWE storylines are being drip-fed slowly over multiple months, if not seasons. Vince would have never allowed this trash to air. Praying User Sports said the crowd carried the show. Andy said it left a lot to be desired. And Dan said too long. It needs to be like Raw. So let's have a look, shall we? People not crazy about this show. I'm sure that message came across loud and clear. And here we are with the score. So 128 votes. And yeah, good, okay. I mean, amazingly great. Getting 36%. I mean, for me, this show, I'm well in good, okay. I'm like 6.25, but I'm 6, to be honest. So I'm in here. I wouldn't say it was bad. I feel like for a show to be bad, it would really need pretty much no redeeming qualities. And, you know, the Street Profits match was good. I actually didn't mind Charlotte, Tiffany, the promo. And obviously, even though the ending was maybe underwhelming and not what we were looking for, we did still get those three in the ring. We got that Paul Heyman little moment in there. I can find several moments in this show. I mean, I thought Zelina against Piper had its moments as well. So, and Jacob going off on Solo. I can find enough here to ensure that it's not a bad show, but it gets into good okay, and it ain't nowhere near great for me. So, there we go. That was this week's SmackDown. Obviously, on Monday, we're going to be hoping for better, but I think the Cena-Cody segment should deliver. I've got high hopes for that, and hopefully the rest of Raw can follow suit as well. I mean, that one does benefit by being 2.5 hours rather than 3 hours. I do think that helps. You know, we easily could have shaved half an hour off this SmackDown, and I don't think anyone would have complained. So, yeah, fingers crossed we can bounce back on Monday with a really good show. So there we go. Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate the support as always. I'll be back later with UFC. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you Monday for Monday Night Raw. Bye for now.